Kia ora and welcome to a new video from NZ Pocket Guide. Get your appetites ready because we are going to be talking about the best food you absolutely have to try when traveling in New Zealand. So without further ado, let's get started. Let's begin with probably the most authentic food that you're going to be trying in New Zealand, and that's called the Hangi. The Hangi is traditional Maori food that is slow cooked underground for hours. It's a whole day ordeal, but it turns out to be absolutely delicious in the end. There are options for both vegetarian and meat eaters, so everybody is going to be dazzled by this amazing Maori traditional dish. You'll be able to try it in towns such as Rotorua by joining one of the Maori evening tours. Pretty much all of them feature amazing hangis. And you know, there's always a side of fried bread with it, which is a really good bonus addition. Next up on the list we have crayfish. Crayfish are basically the New Zealand version of the lobster, and it comes with lobster prices. It will run up between 80 to 100 New Zealand dollars to get a full crayfish in a restaurant. And the best place in New Zealand to try crayfish are Kaikoura. Next up on our list we have another seafood delicacy, and that's the Kina. Kina is basically sea urchin, and when you open them in half you will find some basically brown goo in there, and that's what you're supposed to eat. It tastes like seafood, and it's seafood. It's a delicacy here. You've got to try it. Speaking of things that you have to try, what about a Kiwi Burger? A Kiwi Burger is your classic beef burger, except it has a few extra toppings, such as a fried egg and beetroots. I know, it sounds weird, and it does taste weird, but you've got to try it. When in Rome, or when in Auckland, try the Auckland food. Next up on the list we have Hoki Poki ice cream, and this is a crowd pleaser. Hoki Poki ice cream is basically vanilla ice cream with a ton of smashed up dried bits of honey in there. It is really delicious, and you'll be able to have that in summer on the beach in New Zealand, and it's just gonna be a treat. Next up on the list we have a bit of a controversy, and it has been settled recently, but between New Zealand and Australia there was a bit of a rivalry as to who created the Pavlova. But it turns out that it's a New Zealand thing. Pavlova is a dessert which is basically a big meringue topped up with creams and fruit. It is really delicious, but doesn't last long, so there are only a very rare amount of cafes and places that will actually offer that in the menu. But it's definitely worth trying if you have a chance to. Okay, as my honorable mentions, I have a bunch of food that you'll be able to find either in supermarkets or very widely available all around the countries. Such as LNP, which is a New Zealand lemon soda, akin to Sprite but a little bit more lemony. Manuka honey, which is basically honey but with extra health and medicinal properties. There is also Jaffas, which is a hard-coated orange candy with chocolate inside. Savory pies, which will be able to find in a lot of different cafes and even gas stations. Kiwis really do like to eat savory pies for breakfast and lunch. A lot of them eat them for breakfast. I don't get it. Next up we have fish and chips, which is absolutely amazing in New Zealand. You'll find some of the freshest fish you've ever had and an ungodly amount of chips, so that's a really cool one to try in any port cities in New Zealand. And finally we have bluff oysters, which are world renowned in New Zealand, and you'll find them available in supermarkets as well as in many restaurants. Alright, so that's everything that I have for you today. There is much more on nzpocketguide.com, so make sure to check it out. And the whole team is joining me in wishing you the best time ever in New Zealand.